Dragon Mama, fruitarian, teacher, healer, coach, student of the human condition, and servant to humanity. And my mission is to empower the healing of your mind, body, and spirit in unison. I'd like to welcome you to my podcast, Raw Healing Live with Dragon Mama. Real, raw, live, unfiltered, and uncut. When you make your health your absolute number one priority, everything else in your life is automatically going to fix itself. A true vegan would prefer to eat a pile of their own feces before they eat a slice of cheese.
No way!
Food is not your therapist. It's not your entertainment. It's not your friend. Food is fuel. The truth is, your environment is the number one reason why you are either going to rise or fall in this lifestyle. Nothing changes if nothing changes. You've got to learn to love yourself. So bend down and grab your feelings, jump up and touch the ceiling. It's time for Raw Healing Live with Dragon Mama. And alrighty then. Welcome, you guys, to the premiere of my podcast, Raw Healing. I'm Dragon Mama, as you guys heard in the introduction. I'm really, really excited to be here. And even my dog, Gage, is excited that I'm here. He wanted to sit next to me this evening. And before I get going, I just want to take a second to thank Bobby Smith and the Fruit Up community for hosting the launch of my podcast. And so basically what's going to be happening here is the first 6 episodes of my podcast are going to be streamed live here in the Fruit Up community. Under the loving support and guidance of Bobby Smith and his amazing team. And thank you to all of you, to Bobby and all of you guys for all that you do. You guys are amazing. And then after those 6 episodes, which by the way, will be broadcast every other Wednesday at this same time, and then stored on my YouTube channel. After that, I will flock off and branch out on my own. And hopefully my podcast will have a nice foundation and a following. And this is a really cool thing because this is something that's been a long time coming. I've been doing this coaching thing. I've been a coach for over 20 years in one way or another, not in the raw community, but for a long time. I've been working with others in healing and spirituality and all this stuff. And this has been a long time coming. So I'm really grateful to have the support of the Fruit Up community as I enter this phase of my journey. And what I wanted to do tonight is I wanted to do a formal introduction. You guys, my story is crazy. And I've tried to tell it many times on multiple interviews. Some of you guys have seen it. I've been on Bobby's show a couple of times. I even recorded my life story on my YouTube channel. But I wanted to give you even more raw, down to earth, brutal, weird, and untold details that I've never shared before. Because it's that time in my journey now where there's really nothing left to hide. And I just want to make sure we know before we get started that Dragon Mama, I'm referring to myself in the third person. I'm a very passionate, blunt, real, at the same time, down to earth, crazy kind of person. So if at any time you ever get triggered by anything I say, which you will, I always tell my clients, if you come into my programs, you will be triggered. Just know that it all comes from a place of love. I am love. I love myself. I love humanity. I love planet Earth. I love helping people. I love what I do. And don't ever confuse my passion for anger or meanness or anything like that. It's just the way that God made me. I have no filter. So that's part of what is going to make me an entertaining figure for you to come and hang out with every Wednesday night, is the fact that it just rolls off my tongue the way it rolls off my tongue. So leave your hard feelings at home and leave your triggers at home when you listen to Dragon Mama, and just come somewhere where we can all be real together. Cool? And starting next week, by the way, I'm going to be having some guests on here as well. But tonight, this is all about learning about me. And at the end of today's podcast, by the way, I'm going to have some tips for getting started on your raw healing journey. So I do have some content. I'm going to have content prepared for you guys every single week. But I figured that, since I'm somebody who I really am someone who talks a lot of shit with no filter and says a lot of things that trigger a lot of people. So before we got into any of that kind of stuff, I really wanted to take the opportunity for you guys to get to know me and my background and where I came from and how I became the person that I am. And when you hear the way that I talk about my past, you'll understand how I talk in general about other people's present. So let's get started with that. So one of the first things I wanted to share is that I grew up in Houston, Texas, in a, I guess, like upper class Jewish family. I'm not religious anymore. I don't practice religion. I believe in God, but I don't practice religion. And I went to a super snooty private school where nobody liked me. I had no friends. That's just the blunt truth of how things were. I was an athlete. I was a tomboy. Like none of the boys were like really interested in me until I was like 16. I had a boyfriend that went to a Catholic school. And I was bullied and picked on a lot as a kid. I didn't know what was going on when I was a kid. Like I'm one of those people who literally like doesn't talk to anybody. I haven't talked to anyone from my high school in eons. Like I don't even know where they are. And I don't have much of a connection left to my childhood in that way, like traditionally some people do. And I went to one of those high schools where like people went to like Harvard and Yale. And I ended up like staying close to home, went to the University of Texas at Austin, and I studied accounting. Funny, right? And when I was like one of the best accounting students in all of the university. And when I got my internship at Ernst & Young, I hated it so much. I hated accounting. I had to wear a business suit and it was hot. And I was climbing up in these crazy hot places, doing these weird audits, collecting pieces of data that I don't know why anybody needed this information. And all I wanted to do was leave. And so it was from that point that I knew that I didn't want to like work in the matrix. And I've been a self-made person pretty much since I was like in my early 20s. And when I was in my early 20s, I started getting into like sports and athletics on a deeper level with like bodybuilding and fitness stuff. But then I started in a sport called Olympic weightlifting. And so I'm going to show you guys, I got some pictures planned for today, you guys. I got some pictures. Look at me there. That's in 2007 at the Arnold Classic where I was the champion and I lifted a lot of weight. And during this time of my life, all I cared about was weightlifting. Literally, all I cared about was like lifting heavy things over my weight every single day. And my whole life was centered around wake up, eat my protein and my dead animals and my protein shake and go lift. And sometimes I would even do, 2 workouts a day. And really, really bluntly, during this time of my life, the man that I was involved with was my weightlifting coach. And he was a total jerk. Total sociopath. Oh my God, this guy. Literally, like that relationship ended when I found out that he made multiple babies behind my back. We were together 12 years and he made like 7 babies behind my back with like 4 different women. And they all knew about me, but none of them, they all knew about me. And I was like the joke of his life. I learned that all in one day. And I didn't know about them. So he was like using me to like take care of his life in America while he like traveled the world. It was a really, really disgusting situation. And towards the end of that relationship, some crazy stuff happened. So I'm going to show you guys. I got good story time. You guys are going to go on a ride with this story. It is a really, really crazy story. So from around the year 2013 and 2014, or actually from the year end of 2012, beginning 2013 and 2014, I used crystal meth. I became a meth head. And so here's the story of how my drug use started. First of all, when I was like in my weightlifting days and into sports, I was a stimulant addict. I started using ephedrine when I was like 20 years old. So it was ephedrine and guarana and like Rip Fuel and Hydroxycut. And then that evolved into like phentermine, which is like over-the-counter appetite suppressant, Vyvanse, and then that evolved into Adderall, and then I was mixing them all together, and then that ended up spilling over into crystal meth, which is like a really horrible drug. I don't recommend using it to anybody at all. But funny story, from the year 2010 to 2011, I believe, the beginning of 2012, I worked at a high school, actually in Austin, Texas. And funny story, and I've never really admitted this publicly since I began my raw healing journey, but I lost that job when I bought a morning after pill for a 16-year-old girl. I've always been kind of a rebel. I never really respected the rules much. I was a coach there. That was the one time that I was working in the Matrix during the last 20 years was when I worked at the school. That didn't go very well. I thought that's what I wanted to do. But anyway, I was charged with delivery of a dangerous drug for doing that. Funny story, right? Because those charges ended up getting dropped when the over-the-counter Plan B became over-the-counter, and nobody cared about it anymore anyway. So those charges got dropped, but nobody's going to really hire me at a school ever again, most likely. But I started a limousine business when I lost my job at the school. And funny story, right? And you guys are going to love this. I literally had $80 to my name, 80 bucks to my name. And at that time, I took like 25 or 30 bucks, 40 bucks, something like that. I filled up my gas tank on my Lincoln because I had not a Lincoln. It was a Cadillac. And I was making payments on that Cadillac because I was a teacher. And I thought I was going to like have this teaching job. And so I was like, oh my God, I have no money. And so I took 30, 40 bucks. I put gas in the car. And then with the rest of it, I made these cheesy little business cards. And this, you guys, this was before Uber. There was no Uber. I was like, I got to use this car to make some money. So I walked into the Hilton Garden Inn in Austin, Texas. I'll never forget the guy's name there. His name was Ricky. And I said, here, I got a Cadillac. If somebody needs to go to the airport, give me a call. I'll give you $5 every time you refer somebody. And, we'll do business like that, and 15 minutes later, Ricky calls me. Hey, Tracy, it's Ricky from the Hilton Garden Inn. We got someone wanting to go to the airport. I was there with my Cadillac. And then bam, $55 in my pocket. I was like, shit, this is easy. And then later in the day, I got another call and another call. I was making $200-300 a day. And this was like back in 2013, I think. And then I got an idea. I was like, oh my God, I should bring my business cards to another hotel and another hotel. And then eventually I bought another Cadillac. And there's like I had a couple Cadillacs. I was crazy. I had a Cadillac limousine. I had a white Cadillac. I had a blue Cadillac. Then I started hiring other drivers. And it was like a little mini car mafia that I started in Austin, Texas before Uber was even a thing. And I didn't even have commercial car insurance. I literally gave zero fucks about any of that. And I was like paying off the people at the Austin Bergstrom International Airport. Not like I called them the Yellow Jackets. We had this little system with all my drivers. We call them the Yellow Jackets. And we were paying off the Yellow Jackets not to turn us in and write tickets and let us take people illegally to the airport. And I was raking in all kinds of money. And during that time, I was using crystal meth so I could like stay up all night and like not get hungry. Like, look how gaunt thin I was. It was a horrible, horrible thing. But in all seriousness, while I was on crystal meth, this is when my spiritual awakening started. And I started like having all these experiences with like darkness and demons and demonic, horrible, horrible things. I did wake up on crystal meth, and that's when I started seeing the world for what it is and like conspiracies and like the truth about the Matrix. Crystal meth will wake your ass up, but it's not what I would recommend as a good course of action, because what ended up happening from crystal meth is I ended up losing absolutely everything. And I found myself living next to this dumpster right here. Yep. That was the exact dumpster I was living next to for a couple weeks. I begged my parents to help me. They're like, you have to go to rehab. You're not coming to stay with us. I was like, damn it. And this is a picture of me standing next to this dumpster. I wasn't homeless at the time, but I went back and visited it. And the last time I went back to visit the dumpster that I lived next to, the dumpster was actually gone, which to me was a sign that I would never be homeless again, because I always held that in my space as like a trauma. Oh my God, I'm going to be homeless. So, but anyway, so in 2014, I think it was like March of 2014, I started like cleaning myself up. All right. I went to a 28-day rehab program. I went to like several rehab programs. My parents did not want me to come back home. It was like one thing after the other. Like, you know what I mean? And I understand now, like why they didn't want me in the house, because they didn't know anything about drugs or what was wrong with me, or if I was going to like stick a needle in me and die, or who knows what, you know what I mean? So at the time it was really hard, but I spent about like a solid year in the system, coming off of drugs. And in all seriousness, though, when I was like in the system, cleaning myself up, getting off of crystal meth, this is when I really started seeing my vision and my mission. And I was like, I'm going to be somebody. And during this time, I was learning about energy. You guys, I'm a powerful empath. Like my psychic gifts were opening. I started doing work as like a healer and an energy worker. And I actually started creating my own spiritual modality while I was in rehab. So when I got out of rehab, the craziest thing happened. You guys, this is the story gets even crazier. Okay. So I get out, I get on Facebook. All right. I'm gonna remove this picture of the dumpster for a second. So I get out, I get on Facebook, and I start doing these energy sessions for people, like remote energy and like healing and stuff like that. All this woo-woo stuff, like helping people and counseling people, a little bit of addiction work, but it was all for free. And meanwhile, I was like driving the car. This is when like rideshare was actually a thing. So I actually got like an Uber and was driving people around and making a little money on the side. But I started doing my little woo-woo stuff on the internet for free. And every time I would do a session with somebody, I would ask, hey, give me a testimonial. And every time a testimonial came in, I posted on Facebook. And so some company in Japan called Voice saw me and all the little energy work I was doing. And they sent me an email and they're like, Tracy Lee, we think you're awesome. Come be teacher in Japan. Like I knew it was coming. Like this is one of those things about manifesting. Like I knew like something was going to come of me. Like I wasn't just going to like come out of rehab and go work in 7-Eleven and drive a car forever. Like I knew I was heading for something freaking awesome. I really did. And when I got the email, I showed it to my parents. Like I think I was living in my parents' house for a little while. And they're like, that's fake. You have to get that checked out. Like nobody in my family believed that my weird little woo-woo stuff was worth any money or that like anybody was going to hire me. But I got it checked out because I understood where they're coming from. So I investigated this company and lo and behold, it was real. So here are pictures from me in my first trip to Japan in 2016, teaching my spiritual modality. And this is all about like highly like energy work and releasing your trauma and shadow work, nothing about raw food or anything like that. My modality was actually featured in Dr. Emoto. You guys know Dr. Emoto, like the guy who studied water. Like I went over to Japan and bam, I was featured in Dr. Emoto's IHM World magazine. That's like this thing right here, which was a huge honor. And then the craziest thing happened at the very end of that workshop. Some lady comes up to me and she says, hi, my name's Jai, like basically. And she said, I came and she had to use a translator. She said, I flew to your workshop in Japan all the way from China because I had a dream that said you are a gift from God and I was meant to bring you to the people of China. Will you come host your workshop in China in the summer? And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this is absolutely amazing. Then I started working in China for like the next 17 years and my spiritual modality started going viral. So a funny little side story is that when I went to Japan for my second trip, the imperial family started bringing me to these dinners and giving like whining and dining me. It was really weird, like that a member of the imperial family. And someone in Japan tried to buy my likeness for $25,000. They literally tried to buy off my modality for 25 grand. At that time, I had like 5 or 6 grand to my name, which like 25 grand at that time was a lot of money to me, but I was like, fuck you. I basically like was like this to them. Like, there's no way I'm selling myself off to you. So some weird things happened in Japan and I didn't end up going to Japan, but I did end up making 17 trips to China from the year 2016 until about last year. But then some even crazier thing happened. I met this man right here, Jared. Some of you guys know him as my significant other / husband. We are not legally married, but we are married in soul and everything. We've been together almost 10 years, like 9.5 years. And so we met on Facebook in 2016 and I moved him in. I didn't have much. And we were a train wreck when we got together. Like the first time I met Jared, he smelled like whiskey, cigarettes, and body odor. It was like really, really disgusting, but I thought he was super cute. And he was doing his spiritual thing on Facebook with his following. I was doing mine. We put our two heads together and then we started doing this China thing together. So let me see. I've got some pictures of that as well here. Let's see. Bam, bam, bam. So between the years like 2016 to really 2020, we were going to China 4 times a year. It was crazy. Teaching this spiritual modality, energy work, blah, 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 meditation, all of this stuff, your guides this, your psychic energy this, your third eye this, all that stuff, but nothing about food or nothing about raw healing. And it was blowing up. Like it was getting huge. And we were absolutely loving it. And we're just having the greatest time. But then some crazy stuff happened, even more crazy stuff happened. Well, COVID happened, but then let me see. Then I got fat. And this is where stuff starts to get interesting. Look how big I was, you guys. I got fat, 190 pounds. I sit here before you today at 123, 124, 125 if I'm full of juice. 190 pounds. I ate a lot of rice in China, a lot of Chinese food, a lot of chocolate, a lot of caffeine, and a lot of alcohol, a lot of drinking. We ate, man, we were in love and happy, and we were like raking in money, and we started, both of us started gaining weight. Actually, we were the biggest hypocrites ever. Literally, like we like see these old pictures of ourselves. We're like, ha ha, fake spiritual teachers. And so remember, guys, when I talk about later in a further episode down the line, when we're making fun of spiritual teachers who like eat meat and drink alcohol, that was me. I will make fun of all of the shit that I used to do that was so wrong and so hypocritical and so ridiculous. I've been there, done that, and got the t-shirt of it all. And I'm here laughing at myself to this day. But I got super fat, super big. And the turning point for me was in the Shanghai airport. I think it was in 2018. I don't know if any of you guys have been to Shanghai, but the gates are like literally a quarter mile apart. It was ridiculous. And I had drank so much wine, and I'd stood on my feet for 7 days, and my ankles were so swollen that I could not walk. I literally could not walk. Like they had to get a gate. Jared had to get a cart to carry me from one gate to the other. And we're supposed to stop off in Las Vegas because Jared had never been to Vegas, even though I had been a million times. He wanted to see Vegas. I could not walk around Vegas. It was like our whole trip was ruined because my fat ankles were swollen and I couldn't move. So this was a turning point for me. So in the year 2019, in January 21st of 2019, I did my first 5-day water fast. And granted, I was not doing anything about like raw foods or anything like that, but I did start fasting in 2019. And slowly I started getting a little skinnier and I started losing weight on keto. All right. I was Miss Keto. I was sharing keto with absolutely everybody. Check this out. Right. And this is 2020 to 2022, which is a whole nother stage where as long as it was keto, it was okay. Right. I was drinking champagne, which was totally keto, wine, cheese. I mean, it was like the most horrible, one of the most horriblest stages of my health, even though I was losing weight. And all this money was like raking in during those years. You can see like we like rented a Bentley and like did all kinds of like ridiculous stuff with the money we made from China because our modality actually went viral during COVID. So we were supposed to go on a world tour in 2019 or 19, and we're supposed to go to like 7 countries like Abu Dhabi and blah, blah, blah. And like all of these, Morocco and all these places, the Maldives, we were supposed to go there. And then COVID hit and our whole tour got canceled. It was so traumatic. And then we put our modality online to China virtually from America. And we started raking in like all this cash and all this money. And we spent it like complete idiots. We really did. And I drank so much. I was drinking like a whole bottle of champagne a day. I became a complete alcoholic. Like in the morning, I'd wake up, work out. I would do these broadcasts, spiritual broadcasts to China. And then I'd come home and get drunk. That's what I did. I was drunk. Wine and cheese and wine and cheese and more wine and more cheese. I used to call Prosecco and coffee the breakfast of champions. I was like out there, like super, super disgusting and drunk and in bad health. And then what started to happen is we started using mushrooms. So Jared introduced me to mushrooms in around the year 2017, 18. And this was a huge part of my journey. So what started to happen through keto is my endometriosis and my cysts and my uterus started getting really bad. I started bleeding profusely. I started having horrible cramps. I started getting this distended belly. And meanwhile, I was taking all these psychedelic mushrooms, and I was even helping other people take psychedelic mushrooms. And I was learning a lot about myself, about consciousness, about my traumas, like releasing trauma and all this. But I was still drinking. Like I would take these mushrooms, and then at the end of the mushroom trip, I'd drink a bottle of wine. Until like these things are supposed to actually help you like get out of your ego. But what happened with me was I saw it as like this egotistical thing where it's like, let me take a bigger dose and let me take a bigger dose. And I was like, let me take 7 grams. Ooh, let's see what I can learn on 10 grams. And it was like a kind of an egotistical thing for me. And then I said something in my consciousness told me, Tracy, you need to take 17 grams of mushrooms. Do you guys believe it? Look at this. I did this. 17 grams of mushrooms on August 12, 2022, the day I will never forget in my whole life. 17 grams of psychedelic mushrooms. Do you guys know what kind of heroic dose that is? It is like very few people can say they've done this. Like you want to talk about death and ego death. Literally every single demon that is inside of me, like it was the scariest thing that ever happened. Demons came out of me and were threatening me. Like things were like, Tracy, if you don't stop drinking forever, you're going to die and you're going to like lose your uterus and this is going to happen and you're going to get cancer and you're going to be a fake. And like, it's like all these demons were yelling at me. And as of August 13th, 2022, I have never, ever had another drink of alcohol or coffee again. And I quit meat after that day. I didn't quit cheese yet. I became like a vegetarian. So that day changed me forever when I had that heroic dose of mushrooms. Never again had I touched another drop of alcohol. And I want to add another little story in here too that's going to become relevant. When I was 8 years old, that's really when my health journey started, when I was 8. I came home from my last day of second grade and my dad had picked me up and he's like, Tracy, your mom had a surgery today. She had a hysterectomy and she's in bed and we're going to go say hi to her. And she looks really tired and you should know that she's not feeling very well and be really nice to her. And I remember, and I went into my mom was laying there in her bed and I went in there and she was out of it. Like this day I remember super well. I was like, Mom, oh, hi Tracy, how was school? Like that. And she told me, she said, one day this is going to happen to you too. I will never forget. She told me that when I was 8 years old. I was so scared. And so that's stuck in my mind for my whole life that one day I was going to have to lose my uterus. I never wanted to lose my uterus. And my period problems were getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And so even after I quit drinking alcohol on August 12th of 2022, things were getting really bad with my feminine situation. And so I didn't know what to do. So I made that appointment with the gynecologist and I was going to surrender and be like, okay, if we've got to take this uterus out, things were really bad, like bleeding all over the place, the cramps. I would scream and cry. There was nothing I could do about the pain. And I'll show you guys this story now. This was a crazy day in 2022. And so this was just maybe 2 months after I took my heroic dose of the mushrooms. I make this appointment. I made an appointment to see this gynecologist and I had a confirmation of the appointment on my phone. Like I've got this phone right here and it sends you a confirmation. Your appointment is confirmed for 9:30 a.m. with Dr. So-and-so at this address. So we put the address in. Jared went with me. I was scared shitless. Like I didn't know what they were going to say. And we go there and I showed the lady my confirmation. And then there's absolutely no record of my appointment. Even though I'm like, but the confirmation. I'm like, well, can the doctor see me anyway? I'm sick. I said, I'm sick. There's something wrong with me. Like when like there was something way wrong with me. Like I just knew it. And God or my higher self or the universe did not want me going into that doctor's appointment. Something canceled that doctor's appointment. And I look up at the ceiling and I see this. It's that Michelangelo painting of God touching David's brain. And it's a metaphor, and that piece of art is the work means. And what it means is your mind is God. And when I looked up at the ceiling and I saw that they had no record of my appointment, I knew that this was a sign that I was meant to heal myself. And I looked at Jared. I was like, we both knew what that meant. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And so I started cutting out. I quit drinking. I could cut out all meat like beef and pork and chicken and all that stuff, but I was still eating the cheese. But I set a date because we were moving to Oregon. We're going to be moving to Oregon like probably 6 months from then, or it's 8 or 10 months from then. I can't remember the exact dates we moved to Oregon, but I set a date. And on June 21st, 2023, I became a raw vegan and I never looked back. Never looked back. So I went on this journey, you guys, to heal my uterus because I didn't want to lose my uterus. I didn't want that pain anymore. I didn't want that scariness. I didn't want the type 2 diabetes I was fighting with anymore. And that's a whole nother thing. When I had gotten my blood done, my blood work done, my A1C was crazy. It was like 5.7. It was like close to 6 or something like that. Like my blood work was such a mess, and I was in such denial about it. And the doctors were like, "You have to call back." When I got my blood work done, and I didn't want to face any of it. but I decided to do it all naturally. And so when I started my raw vegan journey, it was around the time that Bobby was doing his watermelon thing. And it was like Bobby and Kev Ramon, and they were doing their watermelon challenge. And I was like, oh, watermelon. And then Jared and I were both followers of Kelly Muscle, who now has gone back to steroids, and he's totally out of the lifestyle, which is really sad. But at that time, he was promoting watermelon too. So Jared's like, you should hop on watermelon with all these guys. I was like, yeah, I want to hop on watermelon with all these guys. And so I did 44 days of watermelon, and you guys, that changed my life forever. In those 44 days, I did not touch one bite of anything else. My mind and my consciousness awakened to the truth of this place we're in and the food matrix. I mean, you guys have to do a long mono feast to understand, but it was just the craziest thing. And after 44 days of watermelon, then I took a little break, not a break from raw foods, but I was still on a mission. So I did like 21 days of grapes. I did 21 days of apples. And then I did my 40 days on green juice, my first 40 days on green juice. And it was after those first 40 days on green juice that my symptoms were like gone. So people ask me, like, Dragon Mama, how long does it take to heal? It took me like a solid 6 months of not having any bite of cooked food or oil or shit until I can say my body is fully healed. And I sit here today, 2025, it's 2.5 years later. I still have my uterus, no type 2 diabetes. I'm 46 years old. You guys, I used to sweat the bed every single night. It was so gross. Like sharing a bed with someone, it was so embarrassing too. Even someone I've been with for so long, I would sweat the bed every night and wake up with a big pile. I don't have night sweats anymore. My hot flashes are gone. I have reversed menopause, and people, oh, you're going to stop making estrogen and you're going to get old and it's going to cut. Shut up. Just shut up. It's not coming back. My mindset is so incredibly strong and my health is so incredibly good. The year after, I did 77 days on watermelon. And then this last year, I did 106 days on watermelon. I am living a true mono feasting lifestyle. And not only that, but I have maintained so much muscle and an awesome physique. I want to share you guys a couple of pictures as well. And these are recent pictures here. Let's see. Let's put one more picture of my before after picture on there as well here. Let me see here. And if there are any technical glitches, you guys, today, I do apologize. I am getting this stuff all ironed out. Yeah, check that out. That was me in 2017. This is me just like a month ago. It's a solid 50 plus pounds lost and kept off. People are always like, you're going to put the weight back on. No. You don't put the weight back on, because you actually have to change the way that you see life and eating and yourself. I want to share with you guys just maybe one more picture before we get into some other conversation here. There's another one right there, right after my workout a few days ago. And let's see, one more. I recently completed my first dry fast as well, which was really amazing. Yeah, after my first dry fast, 3 days without food or water. So I'm currently on the pathway of breatharianism, which we're going to get into a lot of talking about breatharianism on my podcast too. And a lot of people think breatharianism is when you just quit, when you quit eating altogether. And I don't see it that way at all. Breatharianism is the practice of eating less. That's all it is. It's the practice of eating less. And right now I'm maintaining all my muscles and my physique and my workouts and my life at about 500 calories per day. And what I actually do is I go outside. Jared and I walk a minimum of 4 to 5 miles a day. And on our heavy days, we're walking about 10 miles. You know, I eat the sunlight and go outside. That's why we moved to Florida. I'm living in Florida now. I've got my skin constantly in the sunlight. I don't wear sunglasses. You guys, just to give you an idea of how deep I am into this lifestyle now. I don't use shampoo. I don't use regular toothpaste. I don't use deodorant. I don't use soap. I don't take regular showers. I will rinse with water, but I don't use any of that stuff. We have plant-based toilet paper in this house. We are chemical-free. My dog is a raw vegan. My dog, since switching to raw vegan, has reversed his glaucoma. His arthritis, sleep apnea, he's had his entire life. So we are super deep into this lifestyle. And so what is Dragon Mama doing now? And what brought us here? What I'm doing now is I'm a coach full time. And so to come full circle back to the stuff that happened with China, I tried to introduce raw veganism into my community in China, and it didn't really go that well. Like people weren't really down with it, and slowly things kind of fizzled out because the organizers weren't into it too. But what it actually boiled down to is this: I don't want to work with people who don't want to change what they eat. I don't want to teach them shadow work. I don't want to teach them energy work. I don't want to teach them meditation. I don't want to open your third eye. It's all fake. If you're not willing to change what you're putting in your mouth and what you eat, and you're not willing to see that if you're still eating their food, you're still a part of their system, I don't want to work with those people. So I'm following my passion now. I've got my raw healing community. And what I've been focusing my work on right now is my 1-year clients. And so I have this amazing 1-year program that you may have seen on the banner below. And I'll just take just a moment to promote that before I get back to my content. But basically, when you join my 1-year program, you get me for a whole year. But not just me. You become a part of my 3-prong strategy, which is Structure Accountability Community, SAC. Unlimited meal plans. I put you on a personal plan for yourself. You have a strict accountability protocol, and you're part of a community. And so each member of my VIP program gets put in a little pod of 5 people, and you kind of go on this mission together. Even though you're not always doing the same things, you're also a part of all my health challenges for the whole year. Like right now, my challengees are in a green juice feast, right? And so you get all those for the whole year, plus a VIP community. It's a lot of Dragon Mama, right? Because most people need more than 1 month or 1 challenge or just a few sessions with a coach to heal. This is spiritual warfare. It is. You need somebody to hold your ass accountable. And that's what I do. It's not always pretty, but that is what I do. And so that's what Dragon Mama's been up to. And so the kind of conversations that we're going to be having in this podcast, which you guys are just now getting to know me. We do this like twice a week in my community. Like I get on there and I speak from the heart and I inspire and I say what I say. Some people run away, some people stay, but I can tell you this, the people who have hung around and not been triggered and not had butthurt feelings, they've done really amazing. So I want to put a picture on the screen for the person that I'm going to be inviting on here. She might be here somewhere, Brienne, but Brienne's going to be in here next week. Check out Brienne, you guys. Look at her. Brienne started working with me. She started working with me about a year ago, December 2024. Look how big. Look at her now. She's like, I'm going to buy a little sexy Halloween outfit. I'm going to get my hair all up in a thing and look sexy. Look at her. She's like 240 to 145 in a year. It's not always pretty. And Brienne's going to be on there talking about that next week. It is not always pretty. It's not always easy. And by the way, guys, little promo dig right here. There's a code you can use that's going to be good until the day after tomorrow. It's live25. You go to my website, dragonmama.com. And if you sign up for my 1-year program, you get 10% off, and it's $1,800. It comes out to like $5 a day. And you get like $180 off if you use the promo code in the next 2 days. It's a good deal, but no worries, because I have a beautiful thing on my website too, a free gift. And that free gift is the best juicing protocol on the internet. Hands down. It is a 16 to 17 page document that I created. If you print this document out and you don't have money for a coach, you can't afford to be a part of my program, whatever, go on my website and print this protocol out and do exactly what it says. Your ass will heal. I get messages, DMs every single week from people telling me, Dragon Mama, I followed your juicing protocol. Now I'm fixed. You're welcome. Go check it out. And while we're promoting things, I also just wanted to take a second one more time to acknowledge Bobby Smith and this amazing group. Thank you again, Bobby. Thank you to the Fruit Up community. We're not done yet. I'm just taking a moment for our sponsor, that kind of thing. But thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Fruit Up admin, and you guys so much for having me here. I appreciate you guys so much. And this is going to be an amazing collaboration that we do together. And so for future podcasts, I'm going to do a lot of question and answers, guests. I've got some content as well. And so what I want to do today, before I get into the audience and answer some questions, because I am going to definitely take some questions today, I want to share a little content for today. And today's content is the things that you need to do to get started on your health journey. All right. And so I've got an image to share for that as well. Bum, bum, bum. I should do a little drum roll before we bring the content up. Where's my little sound clips I put in here? Here you go. End of the day. Uploading. Well, that gong is still reverberating here. So I've got 4 tips for you guys, for anyone who wants to get started on your transition into a raw or a fruit-based lifestyle. First and foremost, take the starter pictures, beginning pictures. Take all of your clothes off and take a picture of yourself naked, from the front, from the side, from the back. People are like, I don't have anyone to take the picture. Well, set it on video. Prop it up against something. You need to have a good, honest look at yourself. Trust me, I wish I had naked pictures from every angle from when I started, but I was too ashamed of my body and where I was. That's why I always tell people to do this. All right. Take the videos, take the pictures, and take a set of pictures where you have clothes on as well. That way, if you have an awesome transformation, you can share it on social media, because your transformation is valuable and it's inspirational and people are going to want to see it. Also, get a body fat scale. Get a scale. Get your body fat done. All right. The body, women, you should not be walking around over 30% body fat, and men, you shouldn't be walking around over 20. You need to see the stats. A good body fat scale is going to give you, and I recommend, by the way, the Eros Love Your Body Scale from Amazon, but it's going to give you your protein levels, your hydration levels. It's going to give you your body fat. It's going to give you your BMI. It's going to give you your metabolic rate and skeletal mass and all kinds of information that you're going to see is going to get better and better and better as you go on to this lifestyle. Do not embark on this journey without statistics. Do not use your eating disorder as an excuse. I'm scared you're stepping on the scale because of my eating disorder, Dragon Mama. Well, how am I supposed to help you? How are you going to know if what you are doing is working without stepping on the scale? Get on the scale, and get on the scale every single week, and don't run from it. Just do it. Just do it. All right. Part of this lifestyle is also getting past your traumas. And there's going to be traumas that come up on this lifestyle in every single step of the way. Getting on the scale is just the first part. If you are committed to living a lie, you're never going to heal. And if you can't look at what you weigh and what your stats are, you're committed to living a lie. You're never going to heal. So get over it. Get on the scale and take the pictures. 2, set goals. All right. Goals are really important. Realistic goals. There's an acronym called SMART goals, right? Look up SMART goals. They have to be realistic. They have to be attainable. They have to be relevant. And they have to be time-based. I need to lose 40 pounds in the next 6 months. That's a SMART goal. Set an actual goal, right? Have an idea, have a vision. Also have a why. Your why is going to get you through this process. My why was huge. I don't want to lose my uterus. And by the way, did you know that 70% of humans die of either cancer, heart disease, or diabetes, and that obesity is the #1 leading cause of getting all of those deaths? So if you're sitting there fat and you don't have one of those big 3 yet, or hypertension or high cholesterol, it's coming for you, and your diagnosis day is coming. All right. Because I hear that a lot. Well, I'm overweight, but I'm healthy. Well, you can be skinny and unhealthy, but if you're fat, your diagnosis day is coming. All right. And another thing I tell people all the time, you never see a fat old person. When you see an old lady sitting there and she's at her birthday cake and it says 100 years old and there's a bunch of family members around her, is that old lady ever a huge 200-pound woman? No. Old people are skinny. The fat people die by the time they're 75 or 80. So, it's really important to set that goal to get that weight off of you. Get the weight off so you have less of a risk factor for the big 3, cancer, heart disease, or diabetes. Set those goals. All right. Number 3, and this is a huge one. You have to be willing to adjust your environment. If you're going to transition to a raw or a fruit-based lifestyle, you have to be willing to adjust your environment. What do I mean? Well, it just depends on what your environment is. As I played in the introduction, your environment is the number one reason why you are either going to rise or fall in this lifestyle. Number one reason. I have people that have to get their own refrigerator, put a lock on their husband's refrigerator, and put their juice in their own little mini fridge in their room. If you have to do that to deny yourself access, do it. I tell my clients this all the time. When you quit crack or cocaine or heroin, you delete a few phone numbers from your phone, you go to a 28-day rehab program, and you move somewhere else. When you quit what I call earth junk, and earth junk is anything that's not raw food, it's all the shit, it's the oils, it's the sludge, it's the dead animals, it's the processed food, it's all that stuff. When you quit that, you can never get away from it. It's absolutely everywhere. But you have to be willing to adjust your environment. Stop going to restaurants. Find another way to socialize and bond with the people in your life that you call your friends and your family. Find another way to bond besides eating. Food is not your therapist. Food is fuel. You need to have important conversations with people in your life and set boundaries. By the way, I'm not going to be cooking your dinner anymore. People who are on a juice fast or on a mono feast or on a transitioning to a fruit-based lifestyle, you should not be handling dead animals. If you're transitioning to vegan, you should not be making dead animals for your family members. And here's the rule I tell people. If your kids or your significant other, if they are old enough to say that they want to eat dead animals, they're also old enough to cook it themselves and to go get it themselves. I realize that we cannot change everybody, and not everyone's going to change the same exact way that we are, but they can at least prepare it for themselves. You should not be forced to handle food that's going to trigger you into your old lifestyle. If you're not willing to adjust your environment, have difficult conversations, not handle triggering food. Separate your juice and your fruit from everyone else's when you're healing. You're never going to heal. Why do you think they have 28-day programs for alcoholics? To take the alcoholic out of the triggering environment, to put them in a place where they can heal away from what made them sick. You have to do that for yourself with your earth junk. You have to adjust your environment or it's never going to change. You got to do it. Number 4, you have to have some type of accountability. And so what if you're, well, I can't afford a coach, I can't afford a community. Well, if you can't afford any of that, here's what you do. You document your journey on social media. You tell the whole world, today's day 1 of my all fruit journey. Here's what I'm eating. Why do you think so many of us are sharing our journey on social media? Just for attention? Hell no. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, right? If you start an all fruit journey and you tell the whole world about it or all your friends, and then you have to fall off. So when a lot of us who are these influencers are posting like what we're doing and what we're eating, a lot of it is to hold ourselves accountable in front of an audience, right? To hold ourselves accountable in front of an audience. Because if I tell people, all right, I'm doing 10 days on grapes, there's going to be a bunch of people. I've got almost 15,000 followers now. There's going to be 14,500 people that are going to want to see a picture of me with some grapes. And if I don't, they're going to be like, Dragon Mama, what happened to your grape feast? And so find some way to hold yourself accountable. Without that, without some type of accountability, you're screwed, because this is spiritual warfare and the odds are already stacked against you. So find some way or someone or a partner or something to hold you accountable. Otherwise, you're kind of screwed. Number 5, you have to adjust your mindset. Now, mindset is something we can talk for hours and hours and hours on. But here's one thing I want to say about mindset today. And there's a lot of people who want to switch to a raw vegan or a fruitarian lifestyle who are coming from a complete SAD diet, meaning you eat dead animals, you eat cheese, some of you drink alcohol. You have to heal your sick mind and your broken heart. Now, here's where things are going to get a little bit real. Once you ascend yourself into a vegan mind, and what do I mean by a vegan mind? A vegan mind, if you're a vegan, that means you would prefer to eat a pile of your own shit over a piece of cheese. And I literally mean that. Like if I was starving and someone's like, here's a piece of cheese and here's a pile of my own shit, I would eat the shit any day of the week and twice on Sunday. No way I'm touching that. not just because of the chemicals and where it's come from and everything and the karma attached to it, the whole thing. And so once you change your mind and your heart about what is actually food, the cravings become less and less and less. You're like, oh, that's not food. That's disgusting. And so you actually have to do the work. And what I tell my clients to do to start off is you need to watch 2 hours of vegan documentaries every single week, 2 hours per week. And I actually have a list. Let me see if I can get that list up here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to put the list on the screen. You guys can look at it. Let's see, right here. This is my list of vegan documentaries. The first couple are the best, Earthlings, Christspiracy, especially if you're a religious person or a God person. Watch Christspiracy, watch Earthlings. Watch these documentaries and heal your fucked up mind and your broken heart. Heal yourself. Because the idea that meat and cheese and dead animals is food is a mental illness. It is straight up mental illness. I'm not going to go into the whole vegan argument on my podcast because there's so many people who do it better than I can. Watch the documentaries, and this will fix your vibration. It will open your heart to the truth. And once you see that our beloved animal friends are not food, you'll never want to touch anything again. And there's half of your problem gone. Ew, I'd rather eat my own shit. And then you get into some of that stuff with cowspiracy too, and you don't want to eat the cheese. Ew, I'd rather eat my own shit. Trust me, if you do the work, the mindset will come. And the other thing I wanted to share with you guys about my mindset too, and I'll take this off the screen. And here's how I did my mindset. And a lot of people mistake this for cockiness or arrogance, but it's really a mindset. You have to be willing to walk around while you're in this transition period, seeing other people. Like a lot of people say, oh, it smells so good. My husband's food smells so good. Or I walk through the food court and I smell this, and people are triggered by smells, right? You have to lie to yourself at first and say, I don't want to eat any of that. That's disgusting. Tell yourself, I'd rather eat my own shit. And it literally, when you smell it and you see it out in the world, you have to talk down on it in your head. That stuff's disgusting. That stuff makes people fat. That's not food. That's drugs. Whatever you have to tell yourself, you have to look down in your mind on this stuff that people are doing. And instead of seeing it as something that you wish you could have, you have to replace that with gratitude. Oh, I'm so grateful that I know the truth about what that stuff is. I would never want to eat that again. Replace your lack mentality with a mindset of gratitude that you know the truth. And your mindset is slowly going to shift away from the idea that those things are food. Because what 99% of people are eating out there is not actually food. It's drugs. And most people are drug addicts. Fun statistic, 1% of humans are vegan and 1% of vegans are raw vegans. We are the 0.00001%. This is the true shadow work. You want to talk about trauma and therapy and shadow work and all of this stuff that's in the spiritual community. It's all crap. And that's why I told you my life story, because now I can take a big shit on the conscious community because it's all crap. It's all crap. The Dalai Lama, what a joke, man. This guy he still eats dead animals and promoted the VACCINE. And he's a spiritual figure? Are you kidding me? These spiritual leaders, the clergy of the church, the Vatican, the pastor at your local church, what a joke. Still eating dead animals and talking about spirituality. This is the shadow work, because here's what happens. When you eat all fruit, you're going to have to sit with your shit. You've got to sit with your shit. And that shit is going to come up because you are in a codependent relationship with earth junk. It's codependency. It's sickness. Every time you get uncomfortable, every time you want to celebrate, every time you want to cry, every time you're stressed, what do you want to do? You want to eat. And fruit doesn't release dopamine. It won't sedate you. It'll just fuel you. And you're going to have to live without your long-lasting drug of choice. And you either sit with yourself, you sit with it, and you choose to release it, and you realize that your feelings are stupid, and we'll talk about that later. Most of your feelings are just stupid. It's not even real. You release it, and then you become a superhuman. It's that simple. I'll give you another fun fact about eating too. When you eat your emotions down, like let's just say somebody, like there's a death in the family or something like that, and you eat your emotions down, the energy of whatever you are going through is attached to the fat cells that your body made from the food that you ate to sedate yourself from that trauma. So what starts to happen when your body starts to melt its own fat cells is that energy needs somewhere to go, and it starts to come up and out. You're going to release it. But energy wants to stay connected to you. Like that bad energy wants to stay connected to you. So it sends a signal to your mind that says, eat more, eat more, eat more. I want to stay on this energy, right? And so if you're able to sit with your discomfort and release your trauma, you'll never feel trauma again. You'll never feel traumatized again. Let me tell you something. I have been through some really horrible traumas: physical abuse, emotional abuse, betrayal, homelessness, like things that I don't even want to talk about on here. I've been through all kinds of traumas. Nothing does shadow work and trauma release like being on an all fruit diet. It is the be and end all, guys. It is the ultimate shadow work and the ultimate journey. And that's why I don't want to work with people or coach people anymore that don't want to change what they eat. Because no matter what kind of meditation or energy release or Reiki you're doing or crystals or anything, if you're not changing your diet, you're just feeding the same energy and the same cells and the same cellular program that's kept you sick. And the mind, body, and spirit are all connected. The human body is God's most precious piece of artwork. It should be sculpted and toned and loved and taken care of in the most amazing way possible. So I talked a lot today. I want to see if there's any questions. And by the way, sorry, I have to look on my phone. The streaming software doesn't actually allow me to see the questions on the screen. But are there any? If you did leave a question for me, let me know if you got it, because there's a lot of comments on here that I probably can't see. Anybody have a crazy question for Dragon Mama? And while I'm waiting to see if there's any questions that come in before we end this episode, I want to say this. We're going to have different topics for conversation every week. I got a lot to say. I got a lot to share. I got a lot of brutal truth and a lot of good information. I got a lot of love. I got all that stuff. I want to remind you guys again, for the next 2 days, as a way to celebrate kicking off this podcast journey that we're going on for the next 2 days, you can use the code LIVE25 on my website. It only works for my 1-year program. Most people need more than just 1 month or one session or one challenge to heal. If you're 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds overweight, you're not gonna be able to do it by yourself, most likely. Most fat people never heal. I tell my fat ladies that all the time in my group. And if the word fat triggers you, you're in the wrong place, because that's what it is. It's fat. I was fat, so I get to call people fat, right? And if you're 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds overweight, you need help. It's going to be really, really hard to do it on your own. I run my 1-year program like a boot camp. You're going to check in with me every single day. You're going to be exposed. We're going to talk about your personal life, everything. You're going to be on a structure, a plan. It's like going to boot camp, but the odds are stacked against you. They really are. Most people can never let go of it. It is earth junk addiction is the most deadliest and horriblest and most widely accepted addiction on the face of the earth. It's horrible. It's sad. And we live in a world where everybody has it. So you need to be a part of a community, most likely, where people are healing it, if you really want to let it go. So I also want to take another moment to thank Bobby and the Fruit Up crew again. Let's see. Someone asked a question. Yeah, I did say right now I'm on 500 calories a day as part of my breatharian practice. And that's another thing we're going to talk about, is that the human body needs so much less than we've been programmed to believe. I don't recommend that anyone just reduce to 500 calories a day. This has been something I've been doing with my mind and my spirit to train myself to need less, for my body to become more efficient. And you have to fully detox. Like if somebody who's like 230 pounds try to have 500 calories a day, you're going to be starving. You're going to be moody. You've got to detox through the juices. You got to clean your gut. And then you slowly reduce the amount of calories you're giving yourself and learn to feed off the earth's electromagnetic field as well as the sunlight. Yeah. Jared will vouch for it. Isn't it true, Jared? I only eat 500 calories a day.
It is.
He is. I hope you can hear it. It is true. And we'll have Jared on too sometime to talk too. Someone asks, how did you come about what is a monkey A? I don't know what that is. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Nancy. I want to say this too. Thank you to everyone who Thank you to everyone who tuned in for my first episode. I'm going to try to keep these. I want to try to keep these episodes around 1 hour long because I want you guys to feel like, you can come in, we can put that hour in every week. I could literally go on forever and answer questions forever. But if I did that all tonight, then, what will we talk about next week? So next week we'll have a guest on. Hopefully it'll be Brianne if it works with her schedule. But if she can't come on, I got a lot of good people in my network we can bring on. We're going to have hard conversations. We're going to get down and dirty and real and brutal and honest. And we're going to do everything Dragon Mama style. So I just want to say again, thank you so much to Bobby. Thank you, Fruit Up. Thank you to your admin, Bobby, Tiff, and Completely Cole, and whoever else is on here helping. I love you guys. Everything said here is said from a place of love and concern, and just from a place of just wanting to be of help and service. And again, much love, everyone. That'll do it for today.